Hey guys, it's Emmy from Emi-Sue Creations. What we're doing today is we're going to make some coasters. We are going to paint pour them, but we're going to use the bloom method. This requires you to blow air onto the paint and move it around to manipulate it into almost like a flower. And then we're going to spin it out so that it will stretch to the edges without distorting the painting that we already made. So what you're going to need is some paints. I have acrylic paints mixed with flotrol and water. I have already mixed these up because I did use them last week, so I put them in a plastic bag, and there's like a little bit left on some of them. So we're going to do that. I have a lot left of this green, so most of it's going to be greens and golds, in a little bit of that reddish color. So it's about 5 parts flotrol, 3 parts paint, and just a little bit of water to the consistency that we want it. I was doing 1 part paint, but I really do feel like that is a little thin, and so I just kind of eye it instead of doing that. So what we're going to do is, I have some stirring sticks here. I think I showed you that already. I'm going to use that to layer on the paint, and then we're going to blow them out. Today I'm just going to use my mouth to blow. Other options are you can use a straw, and that will give you, that's just another way to blow the paint around. Sometimes it is a little bit more exact, but today we're just going to use the easy way, which is your mouth. I do have white paint here too. It's thinned out a little bit more than the rest of the paints. That will be our that will be used to develop our cells a little bit more. We'll pour that on at the end and use that to blow out those paints to make those designs. So I'm just gonna real quick just mix this up a little bit, just make sure that, because it has been sitting for about 4 or 5 days, so I just want to make sure that it's all mixed up and we have everything that we need in it. So let's mix that quick. We're going to mix up this gold here. I have my stirring stick for the green. These are 2 different greens. One's a shimmer and one is a metallic. They're both made by Deco Art. So they're very, very similar, but they are slightly different. One, you can see more glitter flakes in it, and one is just it's shimmery, but lightly shimmery. So it's not the same. I don't even know if you can see it on the camera. So this one has a little bit more glitter flakes in it, so I believe that one is the one that is the metallic. This one is very, very slight looking, but it does look very shiny when you hold it up. So that's the difference between those 2 paints that I've noticed, at least when it comes to stirring them and using them. We stir up this red. We only have a little bit left of this, so I don't even know how much we're going to be able to use. I may switch it out for a more purple color because we might just only be able to use a little bit of that. So let's get started. I'm going to use a green for our base color on this tile. So here we go. I'm going to layer on just a base coat of this green paint onto this tile. Oops. Looks like there's a little resin left over or something, like dried resin from the last time I did resin some tiles. So these we're making into coasters. So the tiles I got from really from Facebook Marketplace. Somebody was just selling a bunch of tiles that they had left over after a redo on their house, and I just bought them. It was like the cheapest way to go because they were selling them for a cheaper price. I don't even remember, it was so long ago that I bought these, and I'm still using them and making coasters from them. Once the coasters are dry, I bought some cork in 4-inch squares from Amazon. These ones, they have adhesive on the back, so once they're dry, once they're resined, then I will put the adhesive on the back and they turn into coasters, non-slip coasters. If you need a link to Amazon, send me a message. I'd be happy to send a link over for that. Alright, so there's our base coat. Now I'm going to just put a little dot in the middle. You see the difference between the greens now? So this one you can definitely see the glitter in. This one's just very shimmery. All right, so we're gonna put some gold next. There you go, just a dot. Let's throw on some of that red. And we only have a little bit and we need enough for 4 coasters. So we're just gonna do a very, very little bit of that purplish red. I don't even have the bottle on me to tell you exactly what color it is. And then we're just gonna go again with a little bit of that green. There you go. A little bit of that gold. Oops. That'll spin off, so I'm not worried about that. And then we're going to finish off with a little bit of white to make our cells. Just because I'm trying to use the paints that I already have mixed up. So we're just going to splash this around a little bit, make some lines. Because it's thinner than the others, it should allow our bloom or our flower to bloom out more. All right, so here comes the fun part. I'm going to move these paints to the side. Also, I put wax paper down on my table so that any paint that comes off of the coaster or comes off of the spinner will go on the wax paper, allowing me to save it and use it again for jewelry and things like that. So this is what we're going to do. So I will focus my blowing for my air into the middle. And once I see little cells or bubbles pop up, then I will blow out into like a flower petal position. And that should make our flower. So here we go. See, there's one petal we got right there. There's our other petal, and that purple is coming through beautifully. Our next petal. There's one more. I'm going to blow out slightly these areas just because there is a lot of paint that is piling up in those areas, and I do want to move it around a little. So I'm going to do this one. And I'm going to try to do this one, maybe blow it over a little bit this way. There. Okay. Me too. Blow that out one more time right there. Now I'm going to use one of my sticks, and I'm just going to manipulate it a little bit just so we have a little bit more uniform to this flower. I always make my flowers very big, I know, but it's just how it goes, how my art comes out. All right, there we go. I think this one's pretty, so I'm not even going to try to manipulate that anymore. Just try to get a little bit more cells to come out there. The purple is coming through perfectly. And then, because I'm still not getting a lot of cells like I want right here, I'm just going to torch it a little bit, which will cause very baby-like cells to come out. You see that? And then when we spin it, it will give us a nice design and add a little bit more to that. So here we go. Now we're going to spin. Right in the middle. Now we're going to spin. And we're going to spin to stretch out this flower design. So in the end, it'll come out looking a little bit like you're staring into the middle of a flower with a microscope. Now you see these are paint pour skins that are coming that we will use. Once they dry, they're going to be called skins. And that's what we'll use for making earrings and jewelry. So this is coming out really nicely here. But we do need to make sure we get those corners or the sides, because it's very hard to match the paint once you're done with the design and it's dried, and then you see that you have no that you missed some spots on the edges. So we are going to just use that leftover paint to do that. So if I find that after I'm done with a pour or with a bloom, I find that I do have some leftover paint, but I don't like the design that it's in, then I will take that paint and manipulate it by blowing it to make some pretty designs. So I will show you in a second after I'm done getting these corners filled, or these sides filled with paint. I will show you what I mean by that. So there is our first coaster. That one is done. This is an example of some leftover paint skins that was pretty. It had the pretty purple and the golds, and so I used that white, that thin white, and I drizzled it on top, and I did the same thing. I blew it out, but on here, and so when it dried, it made that beautiful design that I could then make into earrings. So that was what will happen if the design on the spinner is not to what I like to make jewelry with. So there's always that option that you can go with. So I'm going to put this one to the side, and we're going to start with, let me give you a close-up. Alright, and we're going to start with another one. We are going to start with that same paint as the base, this green one, just like we did to begin with. And we're going to smooth it down, make sure it's even. That helps us to be able to, when we spin it, just make sure that we don't overstretch it, and that the paint goes exactly where we want it to go, looks exactly what we want it to look like. The nice thing about these coasters is that they do have a blue background. So if you did not have enough paint, and some of the background shows through, it's not that big of a deal because it is a pretty background. It is a pretty color, and it can just add to the design that you already have. So I'm just there. Okay. Alright, so there's the base. I'm going to put a little bit more of this base just right in the middle because I did notice that it did thin out on the other coaster. And we're going to do that green on top of it. These greens are both Deco Art paints. I like Deco Art. They look beautiful when they're done drying. This gold is also Deco Art. So I forgot. It's not 24 karat gold. I forgot what color it is. Like King's Gold or something. I'll have to look. If you want to know exactly what colors I used, send me a message and I can check it out for you. I have the names written on the bottles. I just put them in a cup today, so that's why I don't have them right here with me. Layer on that green again. The purple, that purplish red showed through so well, even though we only put a very, very teeny tiny bit of it on there. So that was nice. It's a very, very deep color. Alright, and then we're going to put this white. Drizzle that on. The thinness of it is really what makes that those designs and helps us to blow out that paint. I did drop some on the sides, but once we spin it out, those will be gone. I'm not worried about that. Alright, here we go. Let me move these paints away to the side so we don't drop them. And I'm now going to blow out this design. The nice thing about paint pouring is that no two designs will ever be exactly the same. Doesn't matter if you use the same paint or the same technique. They will always come out very, very different. And that's what I love about it, because it just makes, I love the surprise. I love that no matter what you make, it's beautiful. It does not have to be perfect. All right, there we go. So I'm going to now spin our blooms. Oops, let's not knock that paint over. I'm going to spin this bloom, completely different from the last one we did. Same colors. I may have put a little bit more white on this one, but yeah, it's completely different than the other one. And I'm just spinning it out until I feel like it's where I want it to be, which I really like this. I like how we have the big cells here in the middle, and then on the sides we have these cells branching out. They're little, so I think I'm going to leave it. I think I really like how it looks like this. So let me pull up some area on my wax paper over here. Move this one that we just made over so we have room. And I'm going to put this one to the side, and we still have 2 more to do. So this is, let me move this little microphone out of the way so we have more room to put our little coasters. So here we go. This one came out beautiful, just like the last one. There's the close-up. I'm going to put that to the side. And we're going to do our third one. Same thing. I forgot to look at the edges to see if we missed any. Let me just touch that up. Double check on this side. Oh, there's a little bit right there. All right, I think we're good. Okay, so here's our third coaster that we're doing. I'm going to grab this shimmery green like we did with the last 2. I'm going to apply that to the coaster. You can even, so I know I've been using the stick to even it out, but you can even just tilt it to get to all the edges. Whatever way you want to do it is fine. We just want to make sure we kind of get it all to the edges as much as we can. So we have less chance of disturbing the design that we've made, especially if we like it, because you're trying to get it to the edge so that you have a full picture. So to stop us from doing that, I just add extra green or extra base coat. This is considered a base coat. That's what we're doing right now. Do the base coat. A lot of people will use, for their base coat, they will use like a house paint. I don't. I just use regular paint. It seems to work fine. I'm sure everybody's formula is different, so. But this one works fine for me, so I've just been using this. All right, let's layer it up again. So we're going to take this green. Oops, I think I put a little extra last time of this green in the middle, and I think that worked well to cover up, make sure we don't see any of that tile through it like we did with the first one. Alright, so let's layer on some of that metallic green. One's a shimmer, one's a metallic. The one on top we just put is a metallic. You can see the difference when they're layered on top of each other. We're going to do the gold. There's our gold. And do our little bit of purple. We'll just need enough purple for one more coaster. Come on, purple, you can do it. We're going to do another layer of that green again. Another layer of that gold, and then we're going to end it off with the white. Oops, that's the wrong color. Where's the green that I need? Is this the right green? No, this is the right green. put it off to the side. All right, so we're gonna do this green. There we go. A little bit more of that gold. And then we're gonna do a layer of that thin white. The cell activator is what they call it, but they call it a cell activator because you put flotrol and water in it, but I put flotrol and water in all of my paints, so they kind of all are cell activators in a sense, except this one is just a little bit thinner than the rest, to make it easier for us to blow this out. So that's what we're gonna do now. I'm gonna tilt it a little bit because it seems like it's going to the right just a little, which I don't know why I always have that problem with this, but it's good. All right, here we go. We're gonna blow it out now. I find if you do all metallics, it looks very beautiful, but you don't get as much of a contrast. So all of the paints here are metallics except for this white. And then when you look at the white, you can see the contrast, the beautiful contrast that you get, which even causes the design and cells to stand out more, I feel. So I'm just going to, this actually blew out nicely on its own, but we are still going to spin it so that we can stretch this out a little bit more. I'm going to manipulate this white a little bit more right here, just because I'm not 100% satisfied with how that looks. I'm going to let it come back together for a second, and then I'm going to torch it with the torch to try to just move it a little bit and see what's underneath it, because I'm not a huge fan of the complete white that we have right here. Alright, see those cells that came out when we torched it? I'm going to spin again, stretch those cells out. Just make it a little bit more interesting. There we go. There we go. We have all these cells here, and then we have like a little cluster of cells right there. So that's what we got with this one. Again, same colors, same order, different designs that it comes out with, which I really love. So we're going to put this one to the side. This is coaster number 3. We have one more to go. I'm making 4 coasters. You see how beautiful these skins are down here too? When they dry, they're going to make really, really beautiful designs. I like how this almost looks like there's a stem sticking into the flower. Alright, so I'm going to put that to the side. Make sure I got all the corners, but we did have a lot of paint on that, so I don't think that we missed any corners. And we're going to start on our last one here. So again, we're going to do the same thing. We are going to put that layer of green on the bottom. Just for time's sake, just do this, stretch it out with the stick. These sticks I got from Home Depot. They weren't that expensive. I think they were like $1 or something for a bunch of them. So, and I've had them for a while, so it's a good price. All right, I'm going to put a layer of that green in the middle, just to give us a little bit extra green here. And then we're going to start layering. So I'm going to start with this green again, this metallic green. We're going to do the gold. I'm going to do that purplish red. We only have a little teeny bit left, so I'm going to scrape it right off the bottom. Just a little bit left. That's okay, that's all we need, because this really does have a huge impact with just a little dot of it. So there you go. A little bit more. There we go. Okay. We're going to do that green again. Another dot of that green. Right there. Another dot of that gold. And then we're doing the white. Tilting it towards the middle a little bit because it is falling to the right. And here we go. Oops. I'm going to use the stick again and just make our little petals so there's a little bit of a uniform to it. So you kind of guess what you're looking at. Go. And this one. Alright, and now we're going to spin that up. You could always leave it if you wanted, because they could look up really pretty, but I just like to see how they look when they're separated a little bit more. I think they look pretty, so. We got another stem here, like last time. I'm just going to torch that stem just a little bit, see what comes out, if we can get anything out. You really don't even need to get the torch that close. There we go, guys. Sorry about that loud noise. That is my furnace, because I do paint in my basement. But here we go. So this is our fourth tile. We used the same method on all four of the tiles. They all came out completely different. I'm going to remove this tile here. And then I will take you in for a close-up of our skins and of all of our coasters that we made today. So here is the beautiful skins. There are some areas that we could probably blow out also to make some more designs, which we can play with in a minute. Let's take a look at our coasters that we made. Camera over a little. There we go. So those are the coasters that we have made today. There we go. So let's play around with this skin. I'll show you how I manipulate them a little bit. So like these areas are really pretty, but the rest of them could definitely use with a little bit more design to make those earrings pop. So that is what we're gonna do. So I'm just gonna drizzle some gold. I'll drizzle a little bit of white. We have a lot of greens, so we're going to make that. There's our gold. Do a little bit of white to activate those cells. We're going to blow it out. A little bit of white on top of that gold. Some other areas, because the white and the green would look really pretty too. So, okay, and now I'm just going to spin the spinner around and start blowing that out. So we see how we have some cells. We're gonna spin it out just like we would do the paints with those coasters that we just made. We will torch it a little bit in some areas to move some more of that paint around. Get some more of those cells. And then spin again. Alright, so we have some pretty designs here, pretty designs here. So once those are dry, we will be able to peel them off of the spinner, and we can put them on things like earrings, and glue them on the earrings to make some jewelry. So there's never really a lot of waste when you do paint pouring because there's so many things you can make with it. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. If you want to see me do this live, I do have a TikTok channel that I go live on every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And so I will do live paint pouring, posters, and fun things like that, earring making, paintings, things like that. So if you want to take a look at them, let me know. If you have any questions, let me know. If you need links to any of the paints or the products that I used, I would be happy to help you with that. If you have any questions on anything that we did, please feel free to let me know. All right, have a great afternoon, everyone.